You're a new player, a returning player, but possibly interested in grinding down the Germans in the Invasion of Normandy campaign and enlisted the World War II free-to-play first-person shooter. Now you're probably clicking on this video because you're wondering, is Germany really worth playing? Is Germany really strong against the Allies and some of its overpowered counterparts, like that overpowered Jumbo? Well, this video is basically going to go over each campaign level, the advantages and disadvantages of each campaign level, and basically conclude, is it really worth it to go and grind down the German tech tree? Germany, like all other campaigns and enlisted, has a strong lineup with strong weapons and vehicles that can be unlocked throughout the campaign level and each campaign. Now, with the Invasion of Normandy, Germany has to face against the Allies, and the Allies here are the United States. Now, Germany does have great starting off weapons and vehicles, like the Puma. Germany does have a great early access to great weapons, vehicles, etc., but as you progress throughout the tech tree, there's only a few that stand out here and there, with machine guns, with planes, etc. Whereas with the Allies tend to get better throughout the later of the campaign tech tree, especially for the United States. Starting off with campaign level 2, you get the Puma. The Puma is probably one of the best vehicles in enlisted, especially for starting off for a campaign level. The reason why is that the Puma has great maneuverability, can traverse the battlefield very quickly. It also has a 50mm cannon, which is great at taking out Shermans and can take out Stuarts. And if you get on the Jumbo side, you can take that overpowered Jumbo out pretty easily. It also can do well against anti-infantry, good racking up kills really quickly. Great supporting vehicle. Highly, highly recommend picking this thing up. At campaign level 3, you get the MAS 36. Now the MAS 36, in my opinion, is a very, very good bolt action rifle. This can be a great upgrade to the Kar 98K that you get, just because of its firepower and kind of has a quick reload that you can kind of put more rounds down range than you would a Kar 98. Definitely recommend putting this into your lineup, using it as you go and grind down the tech tree. Starting off with campaign level 4, you get the Bf-110 G2. Now this is pretty much going to be your guaranteed aircraft as you progress through the tech tree. Eventually we'll have to replace it, but as you're grinding through it, this aircraft is amazing. With rockets, the ability to go and take out your opponents pretty quickly, as well as use its armament, its cannons to go and decimate enemy infantry, as well as potentially taking out enemy aircraft, makes this a very versatile weapon to have on the battlefield. Now, moving on. The FNAB 43. Now this is pretty much going to be your first submachine gun. It's going to be a kind of a precursor, I would say, to the MP40, or just it's kind of a janky weapon. It's very situational based, works really well in close quarters, but as you progress through that, I wouldn't really recommend it using it that much until you get the MP40. Just because it's not really that reliable. You have to be in close quarters to use it, and it's just, like I said, janky. At campaign level 6, you get the Flamethrower 35. Now, same thing like the American Flamethrower, the Flamethrower like Mark 1 and then the Flamethrower Mark 2. The differences between those two weapons are, as you're going to see with the Flamethrower, as the earlier version of the Flamethrower is going to have a very small radius and very slow time to kill on your opponent. So as a result, it's very situational based. It's going to be harder to use because you have to get there in close quarters to use it. And it kind of gets frustrating, especially the fact that you're going to have to run up to the battlefield, get really close into combat. You have the potential to get killed while you're trying to do that. Situational based, very janky. Definitely will get better as you progress through the tech tree and unlock the Flamethrower 41, but right now the Flamethrower 35 is going to have a short radius, and like I said, it is janky to use. Now, moving on. At campaign level 7, you get the Gewehr 43. Now the Gewehr 43 is probably going to be your main weapon until you get the FG 42. And kind of the reason why with getting the FG 42 is that basically the Gewehr 43 does a great job for a semi-auto. Kind of like I said, the M1 carbine, if you use it for the United States, it's kind of similar to that, just with its ability to put a lot of rounds down range, as well as adapting to any situation, and kind of doing well in close quarters and in long range distances. This would be great to equip to your trooper class, your engineer class, as well as your flamethrower class, kind of making them great for battle, great for combat, and doing great. Now, moving on. Level 8, you get the Storm Pistol. Honestly, I feel that of all anti-tank weapons to put in the game, I don't know why they chose this weapon. They could have put like a Panzerfaust in here, or heck, even they could have put in a Panzerschreck. I really don't know what Gaijin or Enlisted devs were thinking with this weapon. There's videos of people trying to get this thing to work on YouTube with their clips and everything. I've tried testing it as well. It doesn't work. And at the end of the day, I just recommend using a demo pack. That's probably the most reliable way of killing tanks as an infantry soldier, currently, right now, in Enlisted. At level 9, you get the MP40. The MP40 is pretty much going to be your standard submachine gun. The fact that this weapon can handle great in close quarters and in medium range engagements, it's a great weapon. It's great at crowd control. Definitely can get the jump on the enemy. It's really great to use. I can't really say anything negative about this weapon just because it's a standard submachine gun that you can put on any assaulter class and can go out there and do well in. Now, moving on. Level 10, you get the Panzer IIIN. The Panzer IIIN, with its short-barreled 75mm cannon, is going to be your main anti-infantry tank. This tank is going to be great at killing infantry, great at doing crowd control in infantry. Now when it comes to dealing with other tanks, especially when you have Stuarts, you'll be able to penetrate Stuarts here and there on the front. But when you face Shermans and above, yeah, you're going to struggle a little bit. And it's just because it's a low velocity 75mm shell with a short barreled cannon, which means it's not really going to do that great in penetrating armor. But with its low velocity, it can also take out infantry very easily. Great tank, great anti-infantry tank. Highly recommend putting this in your lineup as you go and grind down the German campaign. At level 11, you get the Beretta Mod 30. So, if you're unfamiliar with the Bungle News Network or the videos I've covered or the latest and greatest enlisted patches that come out, they decided to go and nerf the machine gun class. Basically, you're going to have to sit there and be stationary when you use it. Even when trying to use the Beretta Mod 30, it's just janky, terrible, highly frustrated using it. I just couldn't get it to work. And honestly, you really shouldn't be touching the machine gun class until you get the MG34, just because the Beretta Mod 30 it doesn't really have a lot of rounds, doesn't really have good magazine capabilities, and also the time to kill on it is very weak. So I don't even know why they kind of added these weapons from Italy into the campaign, but it is what it is, and we're going to just move on. At campaign level 12, you get the Bf-109 G6. The Bf-109 G6 is pretty much going to be your fighter until you get the Focke-Wulf. And the reason why is because this aircraft can carry bombs. Alongside carrying bombs, you can also have armament to deal with enemy aircraft, be able to engage enemy aircraft and destroy them pretty easily. It's very versatile. You can use this with the GU-188, so definitely really good with using that, or the Bf-110. You basically have two attacker aircraft and one that can act as like a multi-role and fighter, so that's pretty cool. Highly recommend putting this in your lineup, at least two aircraft as you go and grind down the German campaign level. Now, moving on. At level 13, you get the basically mortar. Mortars are very situational based. Basically, you're going to have to zero it in on the target, launch some rounds. You can only resupply so many times from the engineers, and then basically that's all it's really there to do. Kind of a shame that they went and nerfed it with how you can reload and use it. I don't know why they did that. Once again, another enlisted great update, great decision making, but pretty much you just sit there, launch rounds downrange. Once you're done, you go and fight. So that's pretty much it. You just zero by moving your mouse up and down with the mouse wheel, and then you just launch your rounds, you get your kills, and then you run in and YOLO and go and engage the enemy. Now, moving on to level 14. At campaign level 14, you get the Sniper Gewehr 43. Basically, this is your Gewehr 43, semi-auto, but now you have the scope on it, and you can sit there and snipe and engage enemies. If you like the Gewehr 43, you like sniping, this is your weapon, this is what you can do with it, and it's pretty fun until you get the FG 42. Now, moving on. At campaign level 15, you get the Panzer IV-J. Panzer IV-J you can put in the lineup with your crew that can take the Puma and the Panzer IIIN. Basically, this is kind of an alternative once you get the Panzer IV-H unlocked to have two medium tanks out there in the battlefield. Basically, this tank doesn't have side skirts. That's really just protects, side skirts are there to protect it from demo packs and someone trying to launch a Piat at you. But basically, it's just a Panzer IV. It can go and engage jumbos. If you aim at the machine gun port on it, you'll be able to penetrate it, but other than that, you take out tanks, you can take out infantry, nothing really spectacular, it's just a Panzer IV. At campaign level 6, you get the Beretta M1918. I've done a review on this. It's a weapon that you can also get in the Battle of Moscow campaign, and that's pretty much a premium squad. Basically, it's just a submachine gun that fires very quickly. It's kind of great at close quarters, but at medium and longer ranges, it kind of falls flat. So kind of there's that if you really like the way it plays, but I would just stick with MP40. Now, moving on. At campaigns level 17, you basically get a Kar98K with a grenade launcher. Basically, if you like noob tubing, very jank, you can take it out, get a bunch of swarm of enemies trying to swarm an objective and invasion, launch a grenade at them, get a bunch of kills, repeat, and then run in there and start killing people. Pretty much that's all you do with the grenade class. Pretty janky, not really going to give you a lot of XP or anything to put you on top of the team, but it's something if you want to have fun with your friends or whatever, go ahead and use it. At campaign level 18, you get the GU-188. Basically, this is going to be the one aircraft that goes and wipes the floor of your enemy's teams, and it can take out the jumbo. This aircraft just does great at crowd control, damaging the allies, and also taking out jumbos and vehicles and Shermans and tanks and etc. that are annoying your team. Basically, my strategy with this, and I recommend doing this all the time, is when you're playing the game, you don't really want to use this until you need to. And what I mean by you need to is basically if there's a jumbo hanging out or you're basically going to swarm in the objective after you played infantry, you take this out, you go get good, reconnaissance, good areas where you can bomb, plain infantry, and then you fly it over there and bomb them all, get a bunch of kills, rack up the scoreboard, and then basically keep doing it. Definitely really easy to do, really fun to do, and it also can get the allies very rage-inducing, and you'll pretty much have some players trying to shoot you down right away after you do it. So just keep in mind, it's a great check and great counter to the jumbo. Level 19, you get the MG34. Basically, this is going to be like the first actual machine gun you're going to be using. Definitely way better than Beretta Mach 30. Has a slower fire rate though than the MG42, but it's pretty accurate. I liked using it. It definitely helped me grind through the machine gun class levels. Definitely, like I said, not going to be the greatest machine gun because of stability. Ever since the stability nerf got way worse too, so you're going to have to be stationary or kind of sit down and use it. But other than that, it gets you kills. It can one-tap enemy opponents depending on how you're aiming. So nothing really spectacular. It's just a really good machine gun at crowd control. Level 20, you get the Panzer IV-H. Panzer IV-H is pretty much your go-to medium tank. It's, it can't really penetrate the jumbo frontally besides the machine gun port, but it will decimate any M4, Stuart, any M8 driving around the battlefield. Just a great frontline tank. The side skirts help protect you from demo packs and Piats. Now, of course, it's not, foolproof. If they know what they're doing, they will kill you. So keep that in mind. Now, moving on. Level 21, you get the FG42 Sniper. This is pretty much a very, very, very fun class to play just because FG42 has the ability to switch between fully auto and semi-automatic, and it one-taps opponents very, very frequently. It's a very very easy to use gun platform, very stable compared to the Gewehr 43 or any other weapon in the game. It's just a very, 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 very good weapon, very fun to play. And the fact that you get a scope on this, and you can kind of hide away in bushes and snipe and deal a lot of damage to your opponents, this makes this, really fun to play. So definitely recommend using this, using it in the sniper squad, so you can get that sniper squad bonus, get your XP racking up and everything. Very fun to play. Definitely recommend getting the FG42 and putting it into your squads. At level 22, you get the MP35-5. Basically, this is a submachine gun that will do great in close quarters. When you get to longer range distances and everything like that, it struggles. Like I said, I feel the MP40 is the best just because it does everything well with long range engagements, medium range engagements, and short range engagements. Very stable. The MP35-5, that's one. It just kind of feels like it tickles the opponents a little bit. I wasn't really a fan of using it, so if you really like the gameplay and gunplay you're seeing here, then go for it. But personally, I just stick with the MP40. Starting off with level 23, you get the FG42. Now the FG42, basically, if you kind of saw the gameplay with the sniper, is basically going to be your go-to weapon for the trooper class, for the engineer class, and the flame trooper class as well. You basically can take a whole squad of infantry soldiers out with this weapon and just do well, perform well. This weapon can go from semi-automatic to fully automatic, and it just does great stuff. Highly recommend grinding for this weapon, putting it in, and you will see you start doing great with it. Level 24, you get the Bf-109G10. Basically, I would not recommend using this aircraft. The Focke-Wulf is going to be a great alternative, and the Bf-109G6 does everything this aircraft does, but better. This aircraft just gets more armament and more firepower, but loses the ability to carry bombs. Doesn't really do much when you're shooting at enemy planes and just tickling them and not really doing anything. Kind of discourages you from using it. So I would just stick to versatile fighters, ones that actually have armament that can actually go and do anti-infantry operations. So definitely recommend a hard pass on this one. At level 25, you get the MG42. The MG42, I feel, is a very, very, very strong gun platform. Very great machine gun. You can go and shut it down anywhere and start mowing down an enemy team. Very fun to use. It's just like a laser. Of course, with the mobility nerf, you're going to have to be stationary or in the prone and have the bipod set up by pressing B. But other than that, great weapon, very fun to use. If you get into good areas that can go and cause a lot of crowd control damage, definitely recommend picking this weapon up, putting it in your squads, and using it as the machine gunner class and causing havoc. Now, moving on. Level 26, the ZK383. Now, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I really feel that Enlisted listed this weapon as a machine gun. The reason why I'm saying this is because when I fire it without in the tripod mode, it feels the same way as I would fire an MG42, MG32, or even the greatest machine gun in the game, the Beretta Mod 30. And the reason why is because it recoils so darn much that you're going to have to sit down in the prone and be able to use it with a bipod. So I just feel like that's what Gaijin Enlisted did. I feel like that's what Gaijin or Enlisted kind of actually coded it as, even though it's really not. But it's the way it plays, and honestly, it's just kind of confusing seeing that being in the game. So hard pass for me. Definitely just stick with MP40. MP40 is the best submachine gun really in the game, in my opinion. Definitely the best to use. Yeah, I don't even know why they added it. Level 27, the Focke-Wulf 190 Alpha 8. This is pretty much the best aircraft in the game, in my opinion, for being a fighter and also being an attacker at the same time. Now, of course, the P-47, I would argue, is up there with it. The difference is the Focke-Wulf 190 just feels like it's like a dream flying it just because it's so maneuverable. And the fact that rockets can go and just take out so many opponents really easily, it just makes it a lot of fun to play. Now, of course, I feel like the P-47's better in the ground attack compartment, but when it comes to dogfighting and everything, I would take the Focke-Wulf 190 any day. It's just able to go and dogfight with opponents, as well as ground pound and attack with its rockets. You only get two, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'd rather take that over a BF 109 G10 any day. So definitely recommend putting this in your lineup alongside the GU 188. At level 28, you get a Flamethrower 41. Basically, the difference between the Flamethrower 41 and the Flamethrower 35 is now you have a longer jet stream and your time to kill is lessened. So that pretty much means if I'm shooting an enemy, they're gonna go and burn and die a lot quicker than they would with the Flamethrower 35. This is just kind of a jank class to play, pretty much the Flame Trooper class. Only good if they bring back events or daily tasks where you have to get kills with flamethrowers. Then I would recommend using the Flamethrower 41 just because it has a quicker time to kill and a very long jet stream. So you can pretty much launch it and get a lot of enemies in that jet stream. Lastly, at level 29, you get the Beretta M38. My first impressions on this weapon, I thought it was kind of garbage, but after I started playing it more, I realized, wow, this weapon can actually one-tap opponents and has a very good long-range capabilities as well. Definitely surprised by this compared to the Thompson. I felt like the Thompson was complete garbage for like a top-tier weapon, but the Beretta M38, surprisingly, is actually very stable, and you can kind of use it to engage opponents from long-range distances and short-range distances. So definitely would recommend actually getting this and putting it in your lineup. It would like replace the MP40 with it, just because it's, I was actually surprised with its capabilities. MP40 is good, but it's just not as good as Beretta M38 when it comes to the time to kill and everything like that. So I would go and pick this weapon up. I would use it in your squads, your assault squads, until they release the SGG 44. So if you reach this point of the video, you're probably wondering, Bungle, is it worth it? Should I go and grind down this campaign tree? Of all the campaigns I've played so far and enlisted, each one of them play totally differently, but I feel like the Invasion of Normandy is probably the best campaign just because of the diversity of maps and kind of the weapons and everything used in this campaign. Germany definitely has answers to the Allies when it comes to jumbos and comes to P-47, A-20G spam. Now, the only problem is coordinating as a team and having players on your team that have access to kind of counter those weapons. And the problem is from what I've seen, is that there's a lot of newer players or just unexperienced players or players that haven't grinded up to that level yet, which results in Germany struggling. So that's kind of a problem right now with Enlisted. I don't know if it's just because a lot of people like to play allies, that the ally teams tend to have jumbos and A-20Gs and P-47s, but that's what I've seen. And it made grinding Germany kind of frustrating a little bit because you have a higher tendency to lose, which in return which decreases the XP you get from playing a match. But definitely, if you like Germany, if you like the weapons and kind of what I talked about, and you are interested in grinding it or playing the campaign tree, well, go ahead. If you reach this point in the video, which pretty much no one does, hashtag Bungle Smelly Socks. I appreciate you all stopping by. Make sure you comment down below, mash that like button, helps me with the YouTube algorithm with YouTube recommending my videos. The next campaign level I'll be covering is the Battle of Berlin. I'm about to be finished with the Soviets, and the Soviets definitely are not the one to play right now. But that will be coming out soon. If you really like this video, like I said, comment down below, mash the like button, it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Appreciate you all watching. If anyone's watching at this point, hashtag Bungle Smelly Socks. But other than that, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for stopping by, and take care.